Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Friday. It's our Q&A live with Dr. Melissa. I'm a functional medicine practitioner. I'm a naturopathic physician, and I have a lot of focus on healing your body from within and addressing an assortment of imbalances and diseases and illnesses. So today is our regular Friday Q&A live show. For many of you who are new joining, welcome. I know our following is growing, especially as people are finding themselves at home working again with different state orders and things like that. Our show format, let me just kind of put it out there in terms of our formatting. I go over a whole bunch of news. I actually have a ton of stuff to share with you today. So that's the first half. And then the latter half, so usually about 20 minutes or so, I go over specific news to current state. If you're watching on the replay and you want to skip the news, check the show notes. I will give a timestamp where you can click right to the Q&A live session. So that's usually the format. And Friday is really your day to ask me any of your health and wellness questions. We have some that are, we have already some existing questions that I'll seek to answer. But I'm excited for all of you new joining us. The live chat is on for the live shows. I have Instagram over here and YouTube up there. And Pat Wagner and Ron are our amazing moderators. So please, I encourage you to use the chat. It's also, since we've been doing this live show in March, the live chat has been a community. And so a lot of you regularly see each other, and we've built this amazing community of support. So even though you might be at home, you are not alone through this. So definitely say hi to chat and all of our friends like Donna and Cupcake Paper and Emily and Darlene and JP Soso. It's so great to have you all with me this morning. So without further ado, I want to dig into where we're at. We are just blowing up here, wildfire here in the US. So worldwide, we're now at, gosh, it's so crazy. We're at 57 million. I have to kind of pause to say that because it's just kind of mind blowing. We're at 57 million COVID cases in total thus far. The US has a fifth of that, 11.8 million cases, and we're going to hit 12 pretty soon. We had our worst day here yesterday in terms of positive cases. It's 187,597 new cases. We also had our worst fatality day since May 7th, 1,945 lives lost to COVID yesterday alone, and we now are at 255,496 American lives lost to COVID. I want to share this trend because I have been having issues with my printer, and so I've been wanting to share this with you all. This is, since the beginning, the COVID cases. That was kind of the peak, and then we had a summer peak. Yeah, that was kind of summertime, June time. And then look at that. We are really blowing up. And it's very concerning for all of us who are monitoring this. It's very disconcerting for a lot of the friends that I know that are in the front line, my nursing family, nursing friends, my clinicians, ICU nurses, ICU doctors, and ER doctors. So there's just a lot to talk about regarding this. Before we dig into what's going on here in the US, I just want to highlight some things just to put it all in perspective, because we are not the only country dealing with this. And in fact, Europe has now a few weeks under their belt of these lockdowns. I've highlighted an assortment of lockdowns. The World Health Organization assessed the data and basically said that the lockdowns are working, and that there are two critical factors: wearing masks everywhere you go at all times in and around people. And then also the contact tracing, utilizing technology to contact trace, that's the critical juncture to limit this type of explosive spread. And I've got news to share of why that's not working, how it's breaking down here in the US. But basically, they've highlighted that the last 2 weeks has made a dent in cases. For instance, France has dropped in a week by 7,000 new cases. That's a lot. And so you can extrapolate how many fatalities have been prevented because of that. The EU chief, the head of the EU, Ursula von der Leyen. She said that they have looked at Belgium and how Belgium's cases in August and September were so expansive that it was due to a quickening and a more rapid reopening method. And because of that, she said, we are going to we'll see gradual lifting of the lockdowns to limit another resurgence. And I know we have a few folks who follow us. Sheila, one of them, who's, oh, my little squirrel friend's here, who will, I have a Belgium viewer. I think there's 2 or 3 of you guys, but Sheila is in Belgium and has updated us frequently about her situation. Okay, so moving on to the US, I want to share with you some details. The CDC, actually I have a bunch of info from the CDC to share today. The first more critical point is that the CDC is projecting by, this is so insane, friends, by December 2nd. So that is really, today's the 20th. That is less than, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. It's like 13 days away. That we will have 48,000 new deaths, that we will lose 48,000 Americans to COVID, just because where we see new cases, there's a 2-week lag time. So we're going to start to see the fatalities from this spike line. Okay. Now, I also want to share with you something that is to also put some perspective. So we have New York. New York had their massive surge. That was really the kind of impetus of a lot of the lockdowns. New York was just massively in spread mode. Oh, sorry. Let me share you guys on Instagram. Okay, so that was New York. Now, side note to that, they are showing North Dakota. North Dakota has the most substantial spike in this. And one of the things that we're looking at, every state has a different degree of increase. North Dakota has very similar to the New York spike. And North Dakota is very rural. We already are notating that a lot of the rural community hospitals are just ill-equipped to support those communities. I didn't print it out, but other states, they were really ugly charts and it would have been hard for you to disseminate. But other states that have had really quick upticks, Kentucky and the most severe was Wisconsin. And we are seeing that in the testing sites. Madison, Wisconsin had hundreds of cars in line for testing just yesterday. These are some trends that are really critical to notate. We have the positive percentage rate here, and then we also have the fatality rate. And one of the things that we're seeing is the positive percentage rate is on the uptick, and this is through the 18th, so through Wednesday of this week. We're increasing, we're averaging anywhere between 6.5% and 7% positive rates of positivity rate. Anything, the kind of classification, anything that is above 2% is massive community spread. We are like 3 times that level. Where we see the fatalities, they are dipping, but with the CDC information, we're probably going to see an increase. But I also want to share with you, these clinicians and a lot of the research out there, they are doing their best and they're utilizing as much information as they have learned from this virus in terms of how to support patients that are in the hospital setting. So those are some things I wanted to share with you. The other thing, before I dig into some specific state details, the CDC has posted a week before Thanksgiving. So, if you had travel plans, you might already have them. You might be having to reconsider. But they've listed out several guidelines on celebrating Thanksgiving. I will post the PDFs, very easy to get to. It's on the CDC website. It's actually on the main page. Used to be, I had to have to dig in and go in a few different angles to get COVID information. Now it's front and center on the main page and even on your phone apps. Or on the phone when you're searching. But basically they talk about their recommendation is essentially to not travel during Thanksgiving. It's not a major mandate. It's not as intense of a forceful, it is not advised to travel would be the more appropriate statement. But they talk about the safest way to celebrate this year is to celebrate with people in your household. And it says if you do plan to spend Thanksgiving with people outside your household, they recommend some steps. So the big thing is wearing a mask, staying 6 feet away, especially with people you don't live with, and washing your hands. There's a whole lot more that we know about this. I just want to highlight. And then some alternatives. They actually recommend alternatives to that, but I also want to talk a little bit about, there's a breakdown. If you are going to attend a gathering, these are what they recommend. Bring your own food, bring your own drinks, bring your own plates, cups, and utensils. So you're not sharing with the household that you might be attending. Wear a mask and safely store your mask while eating and drinking. And that is something where you might want to have extra masks on hand. Avoid going in and out of areas where food is being prepared or handled, such as the kitchen. A lot of times poor circulation, accelerated heat, and a gathering of folks. So they're saying stay out of that space. And then use single-use options like salad dressing and condiment packets that, your butter dish, your gravy dish, your utensils for, your green bean casserole and all these other things that we want to be cognizant of these food containers and to have throwaway containers for all of those items. In the event they have, if you're hosting Thanksgiving, things to consider. So if you're going to have guests in your house or to your home, not in your home, but to your home, it says have a small outdoor meal with family and friends who live in your community. Limit the number of guests. Have conversations with guests and set the expectations for celebrating. Like if you've got that one crazy uncle who thinks mask wearing is a joke, you might not need to, one, have a conversation with them. Two, you might need to not invite him this year. He or she, it's not specific to men, but I'm just saying, we all have those family members. And the other thing it recommends, cleaning, disinfecting, touching, touch surfaces and items between use. If you're going to celebrate indoors, making sure you ventilate, open up windows, limiting the number of people in the kitchen, having guests bring their own food and drink, very much similar kind of if you were to attend. And then again, single-use plastic utensils and whatnot. Now, it talks about travel. So in the event that you travel, and again, I'm going to tell everybody, don't do it. Don't travel, don't gather. It's too risky, especially if you're going to areas where it is massive hotspot spread. Anywhere up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, California, basically all the states that are having just an exorbitant amount of spread, the Midwest, and even in the Sun Belt areas. Georgia's back on board. We have an increase here too. But they talk a little bit about, getting a flu shot before you travel. Check travel restrictions. You might be going to Hawaii or New York. You might need to have a test, or you might be needing to quarantine when you get there, which would suck and defeat the whole purpose of Thanksgiving. Now we're a week away, less than a week away. Staying, 6 feet apart from people. That's virtually impossible when you're traveling. If you're, here in Atlanta, we take a little tram to get to the gates. You can't be 6 feet away, especially during a busy time. It says, use hand sanitizer, avoid masks and eyes. I might have to get my FedEx. I actually have a delivery for my holiday gift guide that it might need a signature. So if they ding dong the doorbell, which they're coming up the way, hopefully Brian will get them. But I might have to leave you guys for a second. So just stay tuned. Celebrating Thanksgiving alternative activities. What they're saying here is do a virtual Thanksgiving meal with friends and family. So schedule a time. You guys can all eat from your home safely, sharing recipes, showing your, Thanksgiving and all your preparations and food prep, watching television and games, shopping online. They actually recommend that. Contactless services. So stay tuned. I'll be sharing a lot of Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. And then delivering. Oh, good. Brian's got it. Okay. Sorry, you guys. We have 3 awesome guard dogs who freak out with FedEx and all of our deliveries. Okay. The other thing that they recommend is if you are, like we're in town with some family, instead of gathering, maybe delivering some dishes to them. And obviously having minimal contact in that and using throwaway utensils and things like that. But this is really critical if you're thinking about Thanksgiving and you're on the fence. Just, my recommendation, err on the side of safety. If you like these tips and you love my show, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Okay, so that was the CDC guideline or, CDC kind of Thanksgiving. The other thing I want to highlight about Thanksgiving, New York City, there's no Thanksgiving Macy's Day Parade. That is canceled this year. LA, actually not LA, but Houston and Detroit have canceled their parades. Detroit's going virtual. I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like, but somehow it's virtual this year. The other thing I want to notate, looking forward to spring, Mardi Gras is canceled. So no Mardi Gras parades for any of you who frequent or have that on your bucket list. That is now canceled. I want to talk a little bit about some things that are going on that we're seeing nationally. With this increase in daily cases, people are getting tested. We're seeing the same thing we've seen multiple times here in the US, testing delays, testing long lines. And now we're getting to a point where we are seeing issues with supplies. We are seeing testing supplies and lab shortages for supplies to get you your results. Some people are having to wait again 8-9 days to get their test results back. The other thing that has happened is with waiting on testing, we are seeing contact tracing getting maxed out. So let me just share with you, LA, Philly, Chicago, and Wisconsin, those cities in that state, they are having massive testing delays. With that, they're also seeing contact tracing getting overwhelmed. The state that is completely maxed out is now Colorado. They have the capacity to handle 1,400 new cases on a daily basis to contact trace. And they have a backlog. They are only able to trace 1 out of 4 new positive cases right now. Before, when it was manageable for the contact tracer themselves could actually reach 10 to 20 people that needed to be contact traced that had been in contact with one single positive person. Now it's dropped down to maybe they can get in touch with 2. So if you think about that, you might think you're okay. And you might be in a state and you're like, well, I went grocery shopping, or I'm in my, at my school, or, business, or whatever, gym, church. And you have a situation where your state is overwhelmed and contact tracing is maxed out. You can't rest on the fact that you haven't had that phone call for contact tracing, that you're all good. We are now seeing the result of the overwhelm in the system. That's not just an overwhelm in the healthcare sphere. That is the overwhelm of trying to manage this the state of community spread. So I say that because there's a lot of false sense of security and safety that people have, and it just continues to grow and support this community spread when people think they're fine and they're not, taking measures, or if they are and they get a little lax. I mean, it's very easy to forget to wear your mask. Maybe like when we answer the door, we should have a mask on. And frankly, a lot of times these delivery trucks, they don't even have masks, these guys, men and women that are coming to the door. And so I just try to avoid having to answer a door in that event. But those are just minor little points where you might just be susceptible, and it's one engagement and that's all it takes. So I'm not trying to spread fear there, but I'm just trying to really communicate the state of of the US and the state of community widespread spread. Okay, so next up, I want to share with you New York City. They had their meeting and they were looking at the threshold that at any point where the community spread dipped, and this again goes back to this, where if a city goes above a positive percentage rate, New York at 3% was the threshold to close the New York City schools, public schools. They hit it, and they were like, you know what? We gave you guys warnings. We saw the increase, and we're closing schools. For how long? Not quite clear on that, until it dips below 3. But that is really critical when we're thinking, okay, if you are a parent and you've gone back to work and now you've got to come back home because your child's virtual learning. We have one who's virtual learning. He's 5. He has an attention span of a gnat and needs quite a bit of direction and assistance. It's not always easy for these kids to do this virtually. And it poses a challenge socially, emotionally, mentally, physically, and economically on families. So I just want to highlight that, in terms of just give a lot of grace for family and friends that are having to get back into their home setting because of these changes with schools. On a different note, Oklahoma, that governor is totally ignoring the CDC guidelines. He's recommending that people have Thanksgiving with their family and friends. In Oklahoma there's several areas in Oklahoma that had massive spread. And it's possible that they could have that again. Okay, so I do want to talk, I've got a lot of details. I want to talk to you a little bit about economically what is being projected. There is an institute, it's called the Aspen Institute of Economic Strategy Group. They posted just a 2-page little kind of basically like a press release, but basically what they said. And these individuals that are part of it, they're, university, they're institutions of folks representing Stanford, University of Maryland, Brookings Institute, Purdue University, different companies, MIT, Council on Foreign Relations, the Allstate Corporation, Harvard, National Urban League, Caterpillar, which is a construction company, or, construction equipment, JP Morgan Chase Institute, Center for American Progress, Alphabet and Google, which is an institute. They do have other individuals that are representing like Columbia Business School, Facebook. So it's a really, and consulting companies. So it's a conglomerate of folks that have come together. They look at the status of the economic situation. And what they've come together is they talked about with the resurgence in COVID-19 caseloads, they talk about, or they encourage and urge Congress to enact legislation that'll focus on the core measures necessary to adjust to some of these localized stay-at-homes. And they're saying that we are going to need some sort of financial relief to sustain economically the current status. And if you have a small business, I mean, right now, as a small business owner, this is really prime time for a lot of us. The Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday, it's really big. Retailers, really big. All of my brands that I work with, they all have different things happening. And then if you are, a service provider, it's a really big point where you sell gift certificates and stuff. That's all changing. And, not a lot of gyms are getting membership, and it's just affecting a lot of businesses and ultimately households and our economic status. So this talks about funding specifically for state and local governments. They're having budget shortfalls because of this. There's emergency spending needs for testing and contact tracing and all these other details. Funding for K-12 schools to open safely, supporting small businesses. And, one of the things I highlighted on Wednesday, a lot of restaurants are going from 75% to 50 to 25% open rate. You can't make ends meet with that percentage rate. And, it takes a lot of marketing to even go and make pivoting switches to, take out, order out only. It's very challenging. And they're just anticipating that this effect, we need to see some sort of help. So, again, this is not a political statement. It's just a statement on the status of this. There is an economic impact. I do want to notate that we have 2 vaccines that are moving forward that I want to talk about today. So the Oxford trial, the AstraZeneca Oxford trial vaccine, that's in the UK. That's the one that I really like. It is one that it showcases not only resistance and the ability to shut down the virus, it shows a development of antibodies. The phase 3 that they're in right now is testing individuals 56 and older. And they released, it's just a simple statement. There's no clinical research yet because the trial phase 3 is not done. But what they've shown is that there's a robust, that this is the quote, the virus triggers a robust immune response in those individuals 56 and older. So that's really positive. They are nowhere near, kind of approaching the emergency use authorization with the FDA. But I will say that Pfizer has announced that in the coming days, they will be applying for the FDA authorization for emergency use. That is really critical. That sets the stage where there's going to be an independent body and the FDA at the same time reviewing, and it may take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we don't know, but they have identified Pfizer has 50 million doses ready to go to be available by the end of the year. And they are where the doses are being created are both here in the US and Belgium. So I thought that was kind of interesting. This also is the vaccine has a 90% accuracy rate, or effective, not accurate. It's a 90% effective rate. But this is the one that has to be stored at -70 degrees. And it requires a lot. There's a lot to this. If it goes above, so it's, -69, -68, -60 degrees in temperature, that now has a 1 hour lifespan. And so it could, transport, and the way of keeping this cold at 70 has to hit accuracy points, or we're going to see a lot of ineffective vaccines. And this is really critical when you think, that is just really massive. So that is one thing. The other thing that I wanted to notate, the Pentagon apparently has another outbreak. I guess a new recent appointee had, his name's Anthony Tata. I don't remember his exact title, but he had a meeting with a Lithuanian defense minister who apparently ended up testing positive for COVID. So he's tested, Anthony Tata has tested positive. There are others. Triggered a little bit of an outbreak in the Pentagon. So we're, continuing to see this. The fact that he's meeting with somebody, it's just, we can do business virtually. I just don't understand why we're seeing this in the government sector. But at any rate, I do have a really interesting story to share. Before I go there, because the story is really positive, I do want to share a really sad story that we read about earlier. There was, I don't know if he's in Texas. I think a little boy in Texas, almost a 5-year-old. So he's 4 right now. Both his parents, they were 35 years old. Both of them contracted COVID and both of them died. And, this is really, really, it hits home when you think about it. You have kids, we have to be healthy and safe for our families, for the livelihood of our families, and for just the structure. And, it's one of those things, if there are folks in your home that have tested positive, you have to do everything you can to keep yourself safe, isolate. But this is a situation they died within, I think, a day or two of each other. And he's now being raised by his paternal grandmother. But those are the stories we're going to hear and see, because this is a very serious situation. Okay, so if you guys like this, please give me a thumbs up. I see we're low on the thumbs up. And also hit the share button. I appreciate that. And my last and final news before we get to your questions. I think this is really fascinating. There is a gym in Blacksburg, Virginia. I actually have to tell Brian this story. He's probably already read it, but there is, so Blacksburg, Virginia is where Virginia Tech, the technical institute is. Brian graduated from, his undergrad is from Virginia Tech. He's a Hokie. My undergrad was at FSU. We're like arch rivals. We beat his school in 2000 to win the national championship. It's like a little family thing. But I always appreciate hearing news out of Virginia Tech, because they have some amazing engineering and the science background at the school. There's a lot of amazing people that come out of here, a lot of amazing writings. If you're familiar with the China study, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, he was a professor at Virginia Tech. So anyway, let me tell you about this story. There was a gym owner who had a gym, and I'll share with you, I've got pictures of her gym, but basically she had the massive kind of like CrossFit-y gym in a big warehouse, and it had it has these kind of windows that kind of go up like big awnings or something. But anyway, the gym, after the lockdown, she employed a new methodology to address how to safely create a space for her gym goers to work out. And the owner actually engaged with one of her trainers, who is a professor in civil and environmental engineering at Virginia Tech. And together, the professor influenced the change in airflow and just the operation within the gym to keep the gym participants safe. There are several things that they created. Okay, so let me share with you this. They created, so I don't have the equation, but basically she created this, the professor created this equation, but she evaluated the loft space, she calculated wind speeds outside, and the size of the space, and then she basically created, and they changed their HVAC. She created standards actually better than what the American Society of heating and refrigeration and air conditioning engineers recommend. So the ventilation standards that she created are way better than what is base level recommended. And why this is really important is that this gym, this is how it works, how it looks. She's got these openings. So, whatever those things are called, part of the plan was anytime you've got gym classes, you're opening up all of these windows, and they position these athletes in front of the windows. They're called bay doors. So they open up the bay doors. They create these 10 feet kind of 10-foot parameter. They put all the gym equipment inside that 10-foot parameter, and it's chalked out. And that is it. The individual does their class inside that. They don't move outside of it. They don't high five. There's no engagement with anybody else. And so it's very specific, this gym engagement. Well, this actually proved to be highly successful. And I guarantee we're going to see some studies about this because in September, one of her trainers apparently had COVID, tested positive for COVID. So she did her own contact tracing, notified all of her employees and her gym members. And what happened is a total of 50 people came into this type of space contact with the trainer. None of them got sick because she had these very specific guidelines. One of the things that this civil and environmental engineer, one of the things that she said in terms of airflow and all that, she's 6 feet isn't enough, it's 10 feet. So they put everybody at 10 feet space. That could very well be part of it, but her whole calculation of the wind flow outside the bays was enough to keep everybody safe. And that is very, very fascinating to me. Just in terms of how businesses can use science and technology and fact and data to keep their employees and gym goers safe. And, she has not been affected by that. Nobody got sick. And it's beyond that time frame of any new cases showing up. So that is really, really huge. I do want to make a note, if you haven't done so, please download my pandemic wellness guide. This is hosted inside my full script store. So you do have to sign up for a patient account. I promise you'll enjoy that. There's going to be some amazing stuff coming out in the next 10 days that you'll want to get in on. And when you get in, this is it's linked to a protocol that is live. It's a new format for us. We're testing out where I can make my protocols live. If you scroll down to the bottom, that's where you can download the PDF attachment. So just FYI, I've had some challenges with that. Okay, so now I want to get to your questions. Specifically, I want to answer here. Genuinely Lynn's, she asked, I think do you suggest a vitamin regimen if you've been around somebody who has been tested? That's actually, you want to get this. This would be kind of the protocol, what I recommend. And in fact, let me see. I actually want to share with you guys something that I got in the mail yesterday. Very excited because I love to share new stuff with you. I've talked a little bit about functional mushrooms. And then yesterday, if you didn't catch it, check out my Instagram. I put together a Reels. This is for coffee alternatives. But one of the things that I think is great, Four Sigmatic has mushroom blends. I actually used it this morning. Oh, it's so good. So it's this powder. I put it in my yogurt. I did a little story on that. And then they have mushroom coffee. And by the smell of it, it smells amazing. I'm going to test this over the weekend. But they also, this is really exciting. I also put this in my my yogurt. This is awesome. I'm going to be using this in my mommy cookies. We're going to make mommy cookies again tonight. We're going to do another batch. This is a plant-based protein with mushrooms. So with these functional mushrooms, and it is awesome. It has a total of 14 grams of protein. It's a combo of pea, hemp, chia, pumpkin, and coconut protein. Really clean. And then it has ashwagandha, and we're talking 250 milligrams, 200 milligrams of chaga, cordyceps, reishi, turkey tail, lion's mane. This is really great. So check this out, friends. These, it actually came in this cute box. It's red. And look, they have little mushrooms on the inside. I have been drinking the mushroom cacao mix. This is like a chocolate mix. It comes in the bigger one. I just get the little one with the packets to grab and go. But that is really good and very relaxing. So that would also be something I would recommend for anybody that might be dealing with that. Okay, so let's see, more questions. And I'm so excited we have all of you on. Hey, Jenny from the blog, thanks for joining me yesterday. And by the way, if you guys didn't check it out, the live Facebook workshop webinar that I was a part of, we talk about stress and anxiety, and that is on the Sovereign Labs Facebook page. So do check that out. I think I have a link down below for it. The replay is live. They did record it, and they gave me an idea for some new software I might use on our lives, especially our Q&A Friday. Okay, so Kelly McLean says, advice on how to remove a wart on the toe. The over-the-counter meds do not remove, comes back, thank you. Depends on what type of wart. Not all warts are created equally. I love castor oil over a wart. Duct tape is another one that can be beneficial. But you know, if it's got seeds in the middle, I know it sounds gross, but sometimes they do, you might need something a little bit more surgical, not surgical, but you might have to have it removed by, you know, your podiatrist. But try castor oil. Castor oil is great. It can break down a lot of that. And then what I also would do, homeopathic thuja, Thuja, is really great for warts. So I hope that helps, Kelly, if you're still on. Carol Moody says, what is the product you recommend for helping / supporting the lymphatic system? Actually, I have posted my lymphatic management protocol, my supplement list. That is now also live. Let me see if I can get that for you. And I'll post for all of you in the live chat box. Hold on, let's see here. Yeah, they have this really new function that I love. I love using technology to help everybody, especially nowadays. Technology is definitely our friend. Okay, while I'm getting that, I'm going to answer a few other questions that came through on YouTube. Okay, so let me get that. But I will say, so let me just kind of tell you like what's on that protocol. And many of these are going to be professional grade. They're scripted, so they have to go through, these companies require an individual certification and licensing to recommend their products. But one of the things that I think you would most benefit from, the top two, LymphStim is a homeopathic product that I recommend, excuse me, all the time. This is for anybody who has any type of swelling, fluid retention. It's not just for folks that have lymphatic disorders, but it's very powerful at motivating the lymphatics. I actually noticed I had like a little lymph node that was a little swollen. I take a few doses of that, and it really is quite helpful. Let's see. Let me see if I can get share. Oh, copy protocol link. Okay, so I'm going to post. So down below, check out the chat box for all of you on the live chat. I just posted that protocol. So again, because it's full script and it is a patient scripting software, you have to set up a patient account. That is HIPAA. You know, we have all the HIPAA requirements. Your email, we don't sell any of that. You know, it's not about that, but it's about setting up a patient profile. And there are requirements. Some of the brands have certain dictates, like some of the products I can't put on there, but then I can individually script. So it kind of varies. Okay, so community. Okay, so okay, so let's see, more questions. Let's see. Carol, okay. Cupcake Paper says she canceled her big Thanksgiving, just me and my hubby this year. Yeah, I mean, you know, I will say this, there's probably an aspect where we might feel less stressed because we're not doing the whole crazy Thanksgiving thing. I know I always feel stressed out about it. We've got Dubai on, yay, Blue, Sakaro, love it. Emily says, my husband lost a great uncle to COVID yesterday. Oh, there has also been exposure in the care centers. Grandma with dementia is. I hate that. We have a family member in Minnesota that has that. Michelle says, did you ever find the AirVita? I did, but I'm trying to find out how you can get it. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Okay, Jenny. Hey, Jenny. Let's see. Donna says, I usually go to my sister's for the holiday dinner, but she lives north of me in Monroe, Wisconsin. So with my ankle healing and COVID, I let her know may not come this year. Yeah, having a little virtual session. Just because we're not with people in person doesn't mean we have to be isolated. And that is really, I think, critical too, because it can feel like you're alone and disconnected. So use your technology, your FaceTimes, your Zoom, your Skype, all of those resources that you have to connect with all your friends and family. I think that will be enriching as well. Let's see. I see some folks changing their plans. I'm just going through all the comments here. Okay, Hannah says, how does a mask work if you touch it all the time? Okay, so that's an excellent question. This is why it's recommended to have 2 layers. So you have your outer layer. And in fact, I have my Christmas mask. We actually did, I finally got the prints back, which I'm excited to share with you, my business imaging. Oops. But this is my Christmas oriented mask. It's, Frosty the Snowman. And so there's 2 layers to this, the outer layer, and often they're made by different materials, the outer layer and the inner layer. So these are 2 pieces. This outer layer happens to be a little bit moisture wicking, and it's one of the things that prevents the viral particulates in coming through the second layer. So this is really critical. You want 2 layers of a mask. This doesn't have an insert, but a lot of them do have an insert where you can add a filter. That's another point of layering. And I understand people's point. I know people are concerned that people are touching their masks all the time. And, it's particularly impactful when you are talking. And, depending on your mask, you want to have masks that fit you the best, so that when you're talking, it doesn't dip down and you have to keep touching it. That's why Sarah, my friend Sarah, by the way, her link's down below on Etsy, she sells masks where it's tie, 2 layers of a tie to the back of the head and the back of the neck. And that allows you to have a better fit. And I never adjust that mask. These masks that often have the, the earpiece, I know there are some that I do adjust more. So I always recommend to have multiple types. If you are in a really intense exposure point, have the more secure mask on. If you're with some family that you've been around before, it might be less of an issue. But, always make sure that you're sanitizing your hands. And it's something that we have to be cognizant of and conscious of our touching, our hands to our face. And when this all began, I can't tell you how many people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I touched my face and my eyes so much. And it just, calls attention to that. So that's one thing. Christy says, my family and I are not celebrating Thanksgiving or Christmas. We're looking forward to when this pandemic is in control. Yes, and it will be a huge celebration, especially if we can celebrate everybody's healthy and safe and we haven't lost any family members. And if we do, we'll get together and celebrate them and mourn in a collective fashion. Margaret Cross, she's up in New Jersey. She said, I had my COVID test on Monday. Today I'll have epidurals in a surgical center. Cannot take supplements and other OTC drugs since Monday. I totally understand. So good health and safety to you. Let's all send her healing energy and prayers as she goes through the epidurals today. Okay, so Nadine says, is Pfizer's dose 1 per person or multi-dose? So that's a good question. They consider the 50 million the 2 doses. So it's a total of 100 vials, if you will. I believe Pfizer's is staggered. It's a 28-day time frame in between. The first dose is not as strong as the second dose. Okay. I believe that. I believe that's the case. There are 3 or 4 that I've been monitoring, so sometimes I might mix them up. But Robert, what about the COVID vaccine? I've talked a little bit about that. Hopefully you caught that. Definitely on the replay. Catch it. Mud water is coffee substitute with cacao, mushrooms, turmeric. Yeah, I love, seriously, guys, this is, Four Sigmatic is awesome. And they've been this is their defense blend. These are all the things I've talked about. And so I've recommended my liquid mushroom roll. You can combine those. I still take my liquid capsules, but I put in food products, and particularly raw food, my yogurt and things like that. June says, after drinking dandelion tea, I felt emotional and wanted to cry. Just coincidence or liver detoxing? I used essential oils and feel better. Yes, this is very common. Our liver is an organ of emotions. And especially if you feel like you're holding in a lot, and sometimes it can give you anger or anxiety, you can have those releases. And that is very common. That's actually a very positive sign that it is working. What I recommend is lean into those emotions and let them fully evolve and then release. Because when we're holding emotions, we're holding on to things, and that actually manifests in physical ways. It's a topic of, not specific to this content, but, I see that a lot in cancer cases, especially women, breast cancer. There's a left and right side, masculine and feminine, and there's a lot of history there with male and female relationships, depending on which side a woman gets breast cancer. And a lot of it is emotional stuff that we have to, emotional detoxification, emotional baggage, and toxins that we need to release, go through, uncover, unpack, and release. Let's see. Dina, when I download the Pandemic Wellness Guide, I sign up, but then when I hit submit, it goes to a login and it won't let me create a new account. I don't know why that is, but the good news is that Fullscript, we have a customer service number. So call them, they'll walk you through that. If you have any difficulty, I have a direct rep that works just with me and maybe 5 other physicians. So my gal Emily is awesome, and she'd be more than happy to help you walk through that process. Christine gets stressed over holiday period. Yeah, I do too. I think the other thing too, holidays, sometimes if you I remember there are some not so great holidays in our family, and there's family related holiday trauma. So while a lot of people look forward to the holidays, sometimes it can really turn up a lot of emotions. And, those are things that we also have to deal with too. Okay, Angela, cousin 30 has painful cyst on flesh under her breast and underarms. Doctor diagnosed incurable. Let me move this over so I'm not leaning. Hydran dentist, Superativa. My daughter 20 gets cysts under arms, a bikini line, says folliculitis. Suggestions. So, castor oil packing would be really great. The underlying element is what we have to resolve. But the cysts, there's lymphatic involvement. So I'd address the lymph. I actually have a whole breast course. That would be what I would recommend, because the state of breast detoxification and cellular motivation would be helpful for cysts. There's a development and accumulation that's getting stored. And our breast tissue is actually like the storage container store, the container store. We have a lot of toxins that get held in the fat cells. And our breasts are meant to detox on a monthly basis. And a lot of times we don't have that, or there's prevention from underwire bras and things like that. So that course would be my suggestion, because it's just more than, take this one supplement. It's a lot more than that. Anita says FDA approved home COVID-19 tests through LabCorp. Yep. I'm not quite clear on which one. I'm not sure if it's I don't know what brand it is. The key here is, a lot can happen at home. And this happens a lot. I have labs that we send out. Actually, I had to call my lab this morning. We had somebody who sent in their lab test without the requisition form. So they don't know who it's from, but we do from our records. And, for the lab to process it, needs all these other details. That can sometimes be where there might be a meltdown. Good morning, Mama Deli over on Instagram. Deborah says cayenne pepper and ginger powder and some hot tea helps clear your lungs and congestion. That is true. When taking Chinese medicine, do you need multivitamin? Yes. I mean, really, Chinese medicine are herbals, but, those are separate. There's separate categories. I consider herbal therapy, homeopathy, functional mushrooms, multivitamins, minerals, and things like that. I separate each of those into buckets. And so one doesn't offset another. You need all of them collectively. So what is the best thing to do? Holly Van Horn. Hey, Holly. feel like I haven't seen you in a while, Holly. Okay, so what is the best thing to do for fungal rash on the scalp? So, fungal rash is something internal. So digestively, you want to start to heal the digestive process. I'd recommend, actually, I don't know if you guys see this. Instagram over there, right there. Instagram there and YouTube right there. I'd recommend Colostrum Therapy. That would be my recommendation. And let me see, I can post that. Let's see if I can grab that. Colostrum. Let's see if I've got the link for you. I can post. Here we go. I'm going to copy in the notes below. Colostrum Therapy is awesome. So if you're dealing with any type of fungal, candida, antiviral, what that does is colostrum is an amazing way to eradicate those pathogens, and it invigorates your immune response to address that. So you want to do internal and topical. Topically, I'd be using things like rosemary, tea tree oil. You can add those drops to like a conditioner and then, put that on your scalp and let that sit. Tea tree oil is great. So is rosemary is awesome for the scalp. I grow my own, and you can infuse, your rosemary oil, really simple. And you can grow rosemary inside. Very, very versatile herb, but it's great for the scalp. The other thing that I would do is I'd probably look at rebalancing the pH. And so I'd utilize some apple cider vinegar washes where, after you do your scalp, you could do a little rinse in that. It just recalibrates the pH level. That would be helpful. Okay, let's see. More questions. Which side is masculine? Which side is feminine? Left is masculine, right is feminine. And in fact, the majority of breast cancers tend to be left. So, take that for what you want. But if you've been scarred or damaged emotionally, or have had grief with any male in your life, it's not uncommon for a lot of women who've gone through abuse and divorces and things like that to see left side. Father, abandonment issues, things like that. And that's not a judgment. It's not always the case, but there, a lot of times where people are like, I don't understand this. It doesn't run in my family. If you follow Louise Hay, that is kind of along that line of where we see the mind-body connection, and we can manifest sometimes illness and disease through our emotions. Would thuja powder taken as tea help a wart, or could you make a paste and put on the wart? You probably could. I've never had the ability to get thuja powder. So, it's a homeopathic version that I find impactful, but very helpful. June's emotions, first time. Yeah. And just move through it. And it's okay, June, and to you, we're all dealing with a lot of stress, and we have to cut ourselves some slack. Grace is the word of the season. Give yourself some grace. Okay. So pen herbs. Okay. Right side, had a problem with women. Okay. Yeah. Left and right. So, and that's actually, there's what we call body mapping. I've studied body mapping. You can body map all areas of the body, like the scalp gives you body map. And so for instance, like with that fungal situation of the scalp, if I were to work with you, I would want to know where it's located, because that would tell me what connection, mind-body connection is happening that we can additionally address. So that is something that is very common. Same with like, do we have left hip or right hip issues? And what all is going on there emotionally, but we deal with a lot of things. Okay, so okay, now I want to look at Mama Deli says I had a mammogram. Okay, hopefully that you got the results back. I'm a huge fan of thermography for mammograms. Highly beneficial there. Okay, so let me see if I've got any questions on Instagram. Let's see. Okay, sorry guys. Usually I print these out and I just didn't get a chance to this morning. So let's see if I've got any questions. A lot of times I try and prepare questions specifically for all of you. Oh, here is a question. Okay, Salvage Goods Seaston says her question is, do you know if mineral strontium citrate is safe to take for bone growth? Yes, it is. You want to balance all of those minerals collectively. So it would be helpful to have your vitamin D, your vitamin K, and the other, calcium, phosphorus, all of those other minerals. But yeah, strontium is very impactful. And in fact, there are a few supplements that I recommend that have strontium in it. Thermography is great. Asmani says, I knew support for my thyroid multiglandular goiter. Oh, you probably need support. Okay, so goiters. First of all, I have a thyroid webinar. If you guys want, it's a free webinar. It's kind of an evergreen. It's whenever you want to take it. It queues it up very quickly. But I talk about how to address goiters because there are certain nutrients that you need to make sure you get in abundant supply and optimal levels to address goiters. But those are some of the easiest things we can eradicate. And goiters can cause subclinical hypothyroidism. Having had an experience with them, it's not uncommon for doctors to palpate and go, oh, you have a goiter, or even to go through ultrasound, MRIs, things like that. I've done it all with my thyroid. They'll acknowledge it, but they do nothing about it. And so that can cause a whole assortment of thyroid imbalances. So I definitely recommend taking my free thyroid webinar course. And where that's located, just go to naturalhealthresources.com. And I have webinars. And so click on that. So I'd recommend that, Asmani. Very, very impactful. Okay, so let's see, Mama Deli. I don't know what the last of your questions are. Okay, so I think that might be it with the questions today. Oh, here's Darlene. What's the best time of month to do hormone testing? Ideally between days 19 and like 22, if you have a regular cycle. Now, if you're irregular, anytime is an okay time, but that tends to be the best to get where you're at. If you take your, hormone levels, especially estrogen, progesterone, they're constantly in fluctuation. And so they'll be different, if you're on your period and you have blood work, or if you're mid-cycle and you're ovulating, and your levels ovulation will be kind of really interesting. So that is a factor where, most of the time your OBGYNs or whoever is doing your reproductive hormone testing, they don't highlight like you should come between day 19 and 21. But in a lot of my functional labs, that's actually what we recommend. So I hope that's helpful. Let's see, there's something else I wanted to tell you guys. Let me think, what is it? Oh, so let me tell you, next week, because it's a holiday, I'm going to take all of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to take off from our live show, but I have content for you. I am finalizing, actually what arrived today is the last and final item for my holiday gift guide. So I can finally get that completed. And so I have my Healthy Holiday, our 2020 Healthy Holiday gift guide. There's 4 categories this year. And then also there will be some additional content. I will probably put out a poll to see which pieces of content you want first. But those will be edited versions. And so we'll take the place of our live show. I'm giving Pat and Ron time off. I'm giving our family time off. Brian's off next week. And we actually have to finalize the kitchen remodel. We have yet to move forward with that. And so because of the virus and stuff, it got delayed. We've actually never gone to pick out all the details about like what cabinets and coloring and our quartz countertop and all those details. So we have to get that going. And that's what we're doing Monday morning. I also, this is the other exciting point I want to announce, I am taking new appointments. So I have that. It is available. And I have appointments this weekend. I have appointments next week and the week after. So If you've been waiting for an appointment with me, check it out, book. Generally, I get booked up, but I know this season's a little crazy. So definitely do check that out. Accessible on my website. That's the best way to book. Mama Deli had a regular mammo, but debris and cyst. What can I do to get rid of them? Definitely, I'd encourage you to check out my Healthy Booby Care course. I go through all of those details. A lot of times debris and a cyst might be calcification, and also too scar tissue. Sometimes scar tissue shows up. We can have injury to our breast tissue. And one of the major points of injury are underwire bras. And so if you kind of catch my drift, I'm not a fan of underwire bras. And if you need an awesome bra, Ana Ono, they have beautiful bras that are wireless. And they also cater to women who've had breast surgeries, that have had post-cancer recovery. But they have normal, like I wear the bras all the time and I have not had any of those surgeries, but the material, I think it's a Modal. Yeah, it's a Modal. It is the softest material I've ever experienced. And they have this awesome robe. So I'll post a link to Ana Ono. They're awesome. I think I have a discount code too. So I'll get that up. Angela, sisters with COVID, she's taking most of my pandemic protocol. She had cough and felt hard to breathe for 3 days and fatigue. Now she's doing a lot better. Yay. I previously thought Thyroplex would help. Yes, I would. Thyroplex, yes, absolutely. And two, the thymus tapping, that invigorates the immune response. Ana Ono, Spiritual V. I'll actually look on my stories. I think we posted some video from last year's gift guide. Ana Ono, I highlighted all of their bras. Their Leslie bra, really beautiful. But their like robes seriously are amazing, and they're really pretty. Okay, so friends, check that out. I want to wish each and every one of you a happy, healthy Thanksgiving. I am thankful for each and every one of you. Not to get emotional, but you guys have been really great as we've all transitioned through this. And I really want to applaud Pat and Ron for helping build this awesome community in the live chat. It's encouraging when I hear many of you who've been dealing with some crazy stuff look forward to the live chat. And that was really my intention, was to be a beacon of happiness and positivity. Even though we have whack-a-troll often, it is just a pleasure to see you all building relationships amongst each other. And I promise that one day in the future, when everything passes and it's safe, we will have a natural health resources conference or some sort of gathering where we all get together and can hug and high five in person, which will be awesome. So those are things I'm grateful for family, health, and wellness, and friendships, and community. So much love to all of you. Make sure you check out the CDC guidelines. If you guys are on social, please share that. Those are really easy to post on Facebook, screenshot, share on Instagram. We really need to get the word out that we've got to pump the brakes on this crazy spread. So much love, gratitude as always. And I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're going to be playing games and decorating cookies, and the holiday decorations are going to go up too. So super excited. And for many of you on YouTube, follow me on Instagram. I post daily. I'm actually going to post this awesome polish that I just did. So my skin feels awesome, and I feel like I have no wrinkles right now. So yay. So check that out. I'll be posting that later, and I'll see you guys on the other side on the 30th of November. All right, stay well, stay safe, and look out for holiday gift guides. All of the videos I'll be posting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Maybe a few more in there. All kind of depends on my scheduling, but I'm so grateful, and definitely thanks, Pat and Ron. Let's give them some gratitude. All right, Instagram, thank you, everybody. And for all of you on YouTube, I can't wait to hear how your altered Thanksgiving plans went. So I'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.